If you are interested in motion simulators, or you've already got a motion system similar to what I'm running here, then this video is for you. There's been for quite some time software on the market, SRS Studio, SimHub, there's even some others, Fly PT, or if you've got the next level racing systems, then they've got their own proprietary software. I'm running the eRacing Labs motion platform. That's basically an actuator. It's a ball and screw, linear, moves up and down, and it creates motion. You can add additional access to this system where you can have traction loss, the back of the vehicle or the sim rig can actually slide from side to side, or you can add that additional access for the front to do that as well. Plus, you can even add surge so that the rig will actually slide forward and back, or the seat within the rig can actually move forward and back. The software that drives that, that's really the brains of this operation. And for quite some time, we've had SRS Studio, we've had SimHub, and there's been developments to those software, but SRS Studio of late has really been lacking. So sorry to the team if you watch this video, but I don't know, the software itself is just really starting to fall behind in comparison to what is out there. Now, fast forward to just recently, and we have had a new player that has hit the market, DR Sim Manager by a company called Departed Reality. Now, I reached out to Departed Reality and asked them if I could test their software and see what I thought. They were nice enough to give me my license at no charge, so I am running this software free of charge, but get ready for it. There is a 15-minute trial that you can download. So if you jump onto the Microsoft Store, download the software, you can run that as many times as you want with a 15-minute block, and you can actually test the software out with all the bells and whistles and everything turned on. Now, what has really blown me away with this piece of software is just recently, in Assetto Corsa Evo, I'm doing some testing. I'm going to put a little video together of what my thoughts are. But I thought, gosh, let's actually test out Departed Reality's DR Sim Manager to see what the default profiles are like. Now, this has been one of my biggest gripes when it comes to motion software, is it's really tricky to get a good baseline to start from with all your games. Now, SRS Studio did a reasonable job of providing profiles online, but for the most part, they still, in some areas, were really lacking. And I'll tell you one example that I can think of that comes to mind, which really stood out in Assetto Corsa Evo, which blew me away with the Departed Reality's DR Sim Manager. Gear changes. Gear changes are a massive one. Now, SimHub, it's got the ability for you to have the sim rig, I guess, give you that feeling of a gear change, but what it's actually doing is making the rig heave up and down. DR Sim Manager is incredible. It's blown my mind. When you have their default profile enabled, the ability for it to translate a gear shift in the motion rig is mind-blowing. I'm going to try and get some footage of it so I can show you the difference, and it is incredible. Plus, straight out of the gate, I find the motion is actually more realistic. Some motion systems can be really too aggressive, or there's too much motion. Now, in some games that I've played, and I'll put a link up to one of them here, Assetto Corsa, where I'm on the Shotoko motorway, we're in some crazy horsepower drag cars. I've dialed the motion right up because we're just being stupid and having some fun. But when it comes to racing games and even flying, I find sometimes the motion can be too much or too aggressive, and it's just not realistic. Out of the box, the default profiles from DR Sim Manager have absolutely blown my mind. Now, we're going to deep dive into the software today. I'm going to show you the feature set. I'm going to show you the parameters. Everything I'm showing you is going to be specific to my system, which is a 4-post, I guess, a quad actuator system. There is hexapod support for this system as well. So for those people that are running those 6-post systems and really got some crazy stuff going on, this software can deliver for that as well. But let's go through the games that are currently supported. We'll have a look at the default profiles, and I'll even show you some of the adjustments you can be making for things like engine haptics and all that other good stuff. This software is well worth a look. If you have a motion system or you are looking at building a motion system, you must look at this software. I encourage you, download it, run the trial, see what you think, because out of the box, I am absolutely blown away. Let's get into the video. Let's dive into the software, and then we'll jump in the rig and take it for a spin. Right, let's dive into the software. The DR Sim Manager interface is really clean. I like it. we've got our games labeled here. We can see we've got BeamNG, EA Sports, Elite Dangerous, Assetto Corsa up the top there. DCS, Project Cars, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, 2024, X-Plane, and it's pretty detailed. Now, what's interesting is the new Assetto Corsa Evo works using the Assetto Corsa profile up the top here. So whatever type of interface it's using to read telemetry from the game is the same, which is amazing. And shortly, we're going to deep dive into the default profiles, and we're going to do some tuning and walk you through some of the additions that you can bolt onto it to give you engine vibration and all that other cool stuff. Now, if you want to do any manual adjustments, you would enable the manual control here. When you do that and then click start motion, the rig's going to lift up into position, and then up to the top right hand corner here is where we can then basically test out those references to heave, pitch and roll. And I'll show you what I mean here. So with pitch, if we just drag that little slider there, it's going to pitch the rig back, and then so forth. It's going to pitch the rig forward. And you can do incremental adjustments as well from the arrows here, or just zero the rig back out. Now you'll notice here, I'm running heave of -75 and a positive of 50. The reason for that is because of this Samsung 55-inch arc here, the frame I built around the rig. I kind of need some custom parameters to work from. I'll show you shortly where, once you've put your parameters in, like measurements, distances, you can actually auto-calculate. If you're not running a rig that's confined with space like I am, then that out of the box is going to work for you. But if you need to do a custom tune so that it will say only heave so much up or only pitch so much forward but more pitch back, so on and so forth, this is where you're going to want to adjust that sort of stuff and test it before going live so you don't break anything in the rig. So now we'll just turn that off. But that's what that is. That is the manual control for you to test the rig and the axis and the parameters before actually getting into a game. So now along the top here, we've got the profile editor. This is where we can see all of the games. And if we expand, say, DCS, we can see we've got a number of different profiles that are already in there. But for the purpose of today, we're touching on Assetto Corsa. So we'll reduce that and then scroll up to Assetto Corsa, expand that profile there, and you'll see we've got global DR car, global DR F1, default hexapod, default quad post. What we're going to be doing for today though is creating a new profile. So all we need to do for that profile is click new. Then from this drop down here, you'll see we've got all of the games are listed there. But what we want to do is leave it set at global profiles. We can select the type, in this case it's car. And as for the template, just select none. Now we can name that profile. So we'll just call this Assetto Car. There we go. We'll click OK. That's immediately going to add that profile into pretty much every car game that's listed here, but we'll expand Assetto and you'll see that we've now got Assetto Car here. If we left click on that, we can now see that we've got some pretty familiar parameters if you're familiar with motion systems. If not, this is where you're able to tune sway, surge, heave, pitch, roll and yaw. Now I don't have yaw and I also don't have sway or surge, but some of those can be augmented with a 4-post system. So we'll just leave all of those on for now, but that is where we can untick or tick them. But if we're doing some specific tuning, we can even isolate to that particular axis, so we can make sure that that is the only thing we're feeling when we're tuning. And I also like that if we hover over these various parameters, you'll actually see that it's going to tell us what that is doing. So this one here, smoothness, that slider adjusts the smoothness. A higher value makes movement slower and smoother. A lower value makes movement faster. So I like that there's those little sort of help notes that pop up. Same if we hover over gain, you'll see that pops up. Apply axis gain. A higher value increases the amount of travel. A lower value decreases the amount of travel. So it's pretty self-explanatory when you sort of step your way through the software. Now, before we actually dive into the game and tuning, let's just finish off going along the top tab here. So sim config. This is the important stuff where we're actually going to dial in the specifics, the calculations for the rig that we've got. Now in my case, the distance between L1, which is the two front actuators, here is 695. So we put that in. And the distance between the front and the rear actuators, L2, we put that in there. And then again, the distance between the two rear actuators is L3, and we put that in there. Note that they're telling you to make sure you take your measurement from the very center of the actuator post, the very top center of the post. And the other thing to make mention is the reason that we've actually got two measurements for L1 and L3 is some rigs, they actually taper in at the front, so the distances between the front actuators may be smaller than the rear actuators. Or if you've built a custom rig for any reason, at least you can fine tune that to make sure it fits. Now this is where we put in the distance that those actuators can travel. In my case, these are 150mm actuators. Now if I hit calculate, that is actually going to give me pitch, roll and heave higher than what is safe for me to have operating within this confines of this room and the monitor. So if I was to hit calculate limits, watch what happens. Okay, now that heave is too high. If I go maximum heave of 75, I'm just going to clip the monitor there. And then if I'm pitching forward, definitely my Tobii eye tracker is going to smash into the monitor. So I'm able to put in some custom parameters there. 75 down is okay, but I really need 50 for the top point of heave. And then as for pitch, I actually find that we just go back there to say a pitch of 6, and we'll go positive of 6, and then here we can actually put that to 6.5 and go positive of 6.5. We can actually just test that. The over allocation factor, I'm not mucking around with any of that yet, so we'll just leave that as is. And then if we go back to source and we'll go manual control, we'll start that, we can actually now just test that to make sure that everything is happy. So let's go pitch all the way back. Yeah, that's looking pretty good there. We'll go pitch all the way forward. There we go, the Tobii eye tracker just stops short of touching the monitor there, so I'm happy with that. And we'll zero that out. And same with heave, if we go all the way up, you'll actually see as the rig's going up, we go all the way to 50. The rig just stops shy of hitting the monitor there. And there's a small amount of tolerance so that we've got a margin of error. So we'll zero that out. That'll bring the rig back to a neutral position. We'll stop the motion. And that is pretty much how simple it is to configure the sim rig in that section there. Now you'll notice that we've got a little plus symbol just here. We can actually click that, and you might have multiple different systems that you're running. Well, this is where you can adjust and tune all of that and add these custom profiles. But this is where we can then have traction loss as its own specific axis that we're controlling, or belt tensioner. Now I'm going to be adding a belt tensioner soon enough, so we would then potentially click there, name that as say BT, and then click add, and then that's now added another control point for us to work from. So it is that simple to build upon your motion platform within the software by clicking on that plus symbol and then building out those modules. So now we'll go to output. This is where we can tune and adjust for the hardware that's actually driving all of this stuff. In my case, I'm running the Thanos AMC. There is also listed there the Thanos 4U, the M4S or custom, and then this is where you tune that COM port that's talking to the controller that's driving all of the motion actuators. If you've already got a motion system, this is probably familiar territory. If not, don't stress too much. When you do get your motion system eventually, this is where you're going to be stepping through instructions that your motion provider has given you to tune it. Hardware, this is where we're tuning the port, so, or not tuning, this is where we're selecting the port. In this case, motion rig, and it's rear left, front right, rear right for my actuators, so that each port is associated to the specific actuator. Then if we navigate up to settings, this is where we've got some keyboard shortcuts and some other little sections that we can tune, whether or not you want an audio notification for a crash detection. And you can also start tuning some of the safety parameters, so at what point it's going to cut the rig's motion if you have a crash and it's starting to get a bit violent. And then just some user interface options. You can change the font size. You can also change the theme from dark to light. And that's about it for the DRSim Manager's overview. Let's now jump into the game and we'll make sure that that profile is selected. And yep, that's what we're running. We're going to start motion. We'll get the rig up to its neutral position, and then let's jump into Assetto and have a look. So we're in the Porsche, we're in the GT3. Everything is ready to go, and this is the default profile. I have not tuned anything yet out of the box with DRSim Manager, and let's see how it goes. So we'll go drive, and we are Bathurst. Start session. All right. Go drive. Whew, it's plonked me onto the track, and we'll just change our viewpoint there. There we go, we'll get nice and close. I haven't managed to get the head tracker working yet. I've been mucking around with it a little bit, but that's okay. We'll dive into that for another video, but let's try her out. And I mean, straight out of the gate, the motion's good. I've done nothing. Look at those gear shifts. It's just this really nice little just shift in movement when you shift the gears. And honestly, I am just dumbfounded. I am dumbfounded at how good this is out of the box. I have to say, hands down, this is the best default profile I have ever tried in motion software. It is absolutely incredible. You have to excuse my driving. I'm not the best not the best racing car driver. Oh, the gear shifts so that you feel. I mean, I just can't get over how good this is. Over the rumble strips there. Now we're going to put it through its paces, of course. We'll go off onto the grass a bit there, rumble strips. And when we get down the end, oh, actually, this will be good through this sort of corkscrew section. But just the weight shift in the rig, even the, whoa! Oh, caught it, even the ABS. I'll do a skid in a minute. Oh, let's try a skid. Oh, it didn't really engage then. That's okay. Oh man, the changes in elevation and oh, those little bumps. Here we go, we're going to the sand trap. Man, I've got to be honest, that is absolutely epic. I cannot believe that that is default out of the box. So we're just going to pull over for a sec, and then let's add some additional modules. Actually, I felt the ABS then. Let's see if we can get that on camera. Here we go. Oh, just really nice little vibrations through the rig as I was pulling up there. Okay, so let's switch to here. So all we have to do to build out on this, we can keep the motion running, that's fine. Click on this little plus symbol, and you'll see here we can add a cue. Now, I want to add engine haptics. So all we got to do is select the engine haptics, click add, and wow, instantly. I mean, look at my little Tobii eye tracker as a reference point. Okay, the minute that I added that, that immediately started to kick in. So watch this, we'll actually remove that, and now the Tobii eye tracker has stopped. So that's showing you the vibration we're getting. So we'll add that. It really is that easy. So that is too much. Right now that feels like it's a bit too much. So we can just turn the gain down. So if we just start turning that gain down, that's probably just a fraction off. There we go. Now this is where we can really dial in. So the idle for RPM, the mid and the red line, how do we want that to feel? What's the frequency? Man, it is really, really cool. And what's the primary axis that we're feeling for that particular haptic setting? And I've got to be honest, I'm feeling that through the whole rig. I'm feeling that through the seat. It is absolutely beautiful. Plus, let's build out on that a little more. We click on the plus symbol and let's go to travel limits. Add. Now this is where I could actually adjust the travel limits to make sure that we're not going to exceed any of those parameters. Now, I'm not 100% sure if we need to add these travel limits because we've pretty much told it in the sim config, but this is certainly where, if we were concerned about those travel limits, absolutely you could dial that in. But one thing that I do want to tune is speed limits. And if you have a look here, this is where we can have adjustments for the speed limitations on those various axes. So I'm going to turn off surge. Oh no, we'll leave surge on. We don't have pitch from roll, roll away from sway. We're going to leave those and we're going to see what that feels like. So let's jump back in. Oh wow. Oh, that engine haptic just feels so good now. Man, how easy is this? I have just got the most epic profile going now. Watch these gear shifts. Man, this is good. I'm having a good time. Almost nudged the wall there. Man, I tell you what, it is doing a good job of feeding me the parameters that I want to be feeling in the rig. So we'll come down through the corkscrew here. Oh, first is probably a bit low. Mouse off the screen there. Man, I tell you, we've mossed it. Let's stop here. So we'll jump in and we are now going to have a look at tuning some of this stuff. So out of the box, the smoothness is set at 50% for everything. So I wouldn't mind heave just being a little bit more precise. And gosh, I've got to be honest, I reckon, maybe even roll. We might even just have roll. We'll bring that down to 30. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's see what that's feeling like. So we'll jump back into the game. Yeah, that is way better. I'm liking that. It's just a lot sharper and more responsive. So it really is that easy now to have a baseline tune to work from. Oh, we're in 6th gear already. Oh man, that is nuts. Honestly, I cannot believe that is a default tune that I have just tweaked ever so slightly. The feeling of I actually felt like I'm in a car and I've just gotten, it's just mind-blowing. Wow. Yeah, what an incredible piece of software to be able to have default profile straight out of the box, driving my rig this well. It's funny because on initial glance, I actually think DR Sim Manager looks like it's probably more complex to use than it is. And I think that's just because it's new software. It's been in development for a while, and it's only just come out, and I guess it doesn't have the same you know, glossy bells and whistles that some of the other software has, but that doesn't mean it's any less powerful and any less more intuitive to use. And hopefully this video is going to help those of you out there that are unsure realise just how simple it is to get a baseline tune and start tweaking the dials to your own liking and building out some custom profiles that are just epic. I reckon I've spent countless hours in SRS Studio trying to get profiles how I want them, and still just haven't really been that happy with them, even using some other people's baseline profiles, and I just never felt like I could fully dial in. SimHub, really powerful software. I really do like what they've got going on, but it can be a lot. There's a lot of parameters, a lot of settings, and I've got to be honest, out of the box, DR Sim Manager, hands down, would have to be, I think, the quickest and simplest piece of software to get a really, really good profile working out of the box. Well done. Well done. I cannot wait to see the features and how much more this software is getting built out. There's a really active Discord as well, and I'll have a link in the description to the Discord for Departed Reality. And the dev is really active. They're releasing updates, and I'm really, really excited to see where this software goes. I tell you what, we have been in the dark for quite some time as motion sim racers, and even our motion systems for flying and space. But the software is really starting to come along now, and I am excited for where it's going. It's just, man, the feeling of lift over that hill, that is awesome. Oh gosh, don't judge me on my video of driving. Oh man. My mates that I race with, they call me the wrecking ball, and you can probably see why. My brother-in-law, Mick, he's pretty good. He's been pretty active in his iRacing for years, and Andrew, our Air Force pilot friend, man, he is absolutely killing it in the EAWRC rally. He's ranking, I think, first or at least in the top 5 in Australia, and ranking really high in the world. I think he might be first in Australia. Yeah, but whenever I race with them, they always get out of the way when I'm coming through for a corner. So I'm getting a bit better. Oh man, that same corner. Unbelievable. And another feature set that I want to touch on, if we go into output, you can see we have motion compensation. Now, motion compensation is critical. When you're in virtual reality and you're in these types of motion systems, you need calculations to counteract the movement from the real world in VR. Now, I'm not going to deep dive in this video into motion comp and what it all means and all the different types, but I am going to link a video up the top here to an epic video that Mark from Get Your Game On has actually done. Great channel, highly recommend that you get on there and watch that. That is a deep dive about motion compensation, how it works, what it does, and that's going to give you a much better overview of that particular feature set. But yes, DR Sim Manager does have motion compensation for those that are curious. There we have it, DR Sim Manager. What an incredible bit of software, out of the box, default profiles. Man, I am truly blown away. Don't forget, like and subscribe, share these videos with all your friends, and I'll see you in the next video.